15 seconds. That's how long it took for one of the cleanest title runs in MotoGP history to turn into a hospital bulletin. 15 seconds between Marc Márquez leaning into turn 8 like a man born for violence and Marco Bezzecchi slamming into the back of the Ducati with the subtlety of a missile strike. 200 kilometers per hour, one wrong calculation, and the most dominant rider of 2025 was flung into the gravel like a discarded prophecy. The stats sting like acid. 11 Grand Prix wins, 14 sprint victories, 5 rounds to spare, and now 0 movement in the right shoulder. A fracture in the coracoid, ligament damage, surgery in Madrid for the man who'd turned Ducati's GP25 into a weapon of mass intimidation. Bezzecchi called it a mistake. Racing incident, he said. But there are mistakes. And then there are detonations that change championship timelines. The FEM saw it for what it was. Irresponsible riding causing danger to other competitors. A second offense, a double long lap penalty, a scar that'll chase him to Phillip Island like bad karma on repeat. So here we are, Márquez out, Bezzecchi repentant, and Ducati robbed of a perfect streak. The question burns louder than his crash. Was this fate catching up, or just another Italian impulse misjudged at 200 kilometers per hour? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's truly guilty when destiny meets recklessness? The Mandalika weekend was supposed to be predictable. The newly crowned world champion was walking into Indonesia with the calm of a man already scripting legacy. Márquez had nothing left to prove, just races to dominate and history to decorate. Behind him, the grid looked like theater actors pretending to be gladiators. Marco Bezzecchi arrived inflated with sprint adrenaline. He'd just torn the tarmac apart the day before, winning the sprint for Aprilia and earning himself pole position. The Noali camp was buzzing. The garage smelled like vengeance. They'd been mocked all season for lacking consistency, and now, on a humid island of chaos, they wanted to remind Ducati they were still alive. But pressure bends the mind. Bezzecchi's first-lap aggression had been a theme since Silverstone, to be precise, after Martin's Claws move. Too hot into corners, too hungry into space that doesn't exist. His earlier clashes at Assen and Misano were already under review that season. He wasn't reckless out of malice. He was reckless out of desperation. The world had gone red, and he was fighting not to disappear into the paint. Márquez, meanwhile, was in pure control. Since Motegi, he'd been driving like a surgeon disguised as a maniac. No mistakes, no overreach. The GP25 had evolved into an obedient predator. Smoother power delivery, brutal mid-corner grip, and Márquez's telemetry that engineers were calling AI-level consistency. He was about to cross into 654 potential points, an impossible number in MotoGP modernity. That morning, the paddock whispers were clear. Let him finish clean. Ducati didn't want risk. Gigi Dall'Igna had already told both factory riders to avoid unnecessary war. Bezzecchi, though, had his own storyline, one where heroism meant touching the Red Devil before it escaped. From the outside, it looked like routine theater. But inside turn 8 waited the fine line between a race start and an obituary. Was Bezzecchi's overaggression a product of hunger or Aprilia's internal pressure to stay relevant in a Ducati-dominated year? Who should have controlled the chaos, the rider or the team that fueled him? Who do you think set the stage for this collision? Comment below. Mandalika, heat like an open furnace. 24 riders squeezed through a track built more for spectacle than survival. Bezzecchi started from pole, Fermin Aldeguer from P2, Raul Fernandez from P3, while Marc Márquez lined up 9th and Pecco Bagnaia a distant 16th. Bezzecchi launched badly. Just like in the sprint, he'd somehow recovered to win, and this time his aggression burned hotter than the asphalt. Charging through the first sector, the Aprilia rider overcompensated for his poor getaway, slicing through traffic as if replaying Saturday's glory. Behind, Márquez carved clean lines through chaos, planning a quiet execution from mid-pack. Then came turn 8. Bezzecchi's desperation to reclaim ground turned lethal. His front wheel clipped the rear of Márquez's GP25, launching the world champion skyward and scattering carbon like shrapnel. The crash opened a freeway for Fermin Aldeguer, who stormed into the lead and never looked back. claiming his first MotoGP victory while the paddock tried to process the wreckage Bezzecchi left behind. By the first straight, Bezzecchi's Aprilia was twitching like it had caffeine in its veins. He dove late into turn 7, shadowing Márquez, whose GP25 pivoted with demonic calm. The Spaniard braked with the kind of control that mocked physics, rear wheel in the air, front tire biting the asphalt like a predator. Bezzecchi tried to mirror it. Big mistake. Turn 8. Márquez tips in with surgical precision. Bezzecchi's trajectory is faster but flawed. He misreads the closing distance by a meter, one cursed meter, and his front wheel kisses the Ducati's rear like a guillotine. The impact is instant. The GP25 bucks, launches. Márquez flies, shoulder first into the gravel, the kind of hit that rewrites careers. Gasps in the paddock. Team radios explode. Ducati garage silent, no shouts, just the sound of disbelief. The man who had rewritten their destiny is lying still, one arm hanging limp. Bezzecchi somehow stays upright for 3 seconds before the gravel takes him too. He tumbles, rolls, stands, looks back. He knows. He doesn't need the stewards to tell him. He just ended something that was supposed to end with fireworks, not fractures. FIM investigation begins instantly. The words that follow hours later are bureaucratic but brutal. Type MGP CC5 violation, irresponsible riding, second offense, double long lap penalty to be served at Phillip Island. The internet catches fire. Rossi loyalists whisper karma. Ducati fans erupt in fury. Some call it an accident, others a crime scene. And somewhere in Madrid, Márquez lies under anesthesia, the hospital lights reflecting off a man who'd been betrayed not by fate, but by impatience. This was not a clash between rivals. It was a mistake too close to malice, too costly to forget. Did Bezzecchi's move expose a deeper rot in MotoGP's aggression culture? When does racing incident stop being an excuse for reckless calculation? Drop your verdict in the comments, plus subscribe for breakdowns. The aftermath was colder than the crash itself. Ducati confirmed the shoulder fracture and ligament tear by Sunday evening. Surgery was scheduled in Madrid. 2 races gone, Phillip Island and Sepang, both tracks where Márquez was historically lethal. The man who could have ended the season with 654 points would now watch from his couch as others collected crumbs. The chaos didn't stop with injuries. FIM's delay in announcing Bezzecchi's penalty became another controversy. Why wait until Thursday at Phillip Island to confirm something the whole paddock saw on replay? The whispers turned political. Aprilia's untouchable attitude, the VR46 connection, and Bezzecchi's rising media power, they all reeked of protection. Meanwhile, Bezzecchi faced the press. His apology was textbook damage control. "I'm very sorry. I respect it and accept it." His eyes said panic, his words said PR. He admitted misjudgment, claimed he didn't expect the speed difference. But that's the problem with racing at this level. Misjudgment isn't a line on a form, it's blood on the track. MotoGP history remembers these moments. Rossi versus Gibernau in Jerez 2005, Simoncelli versus Lorenzo in 2011, Márquez versus Rossi in Sepang 2015. Every era has its impact, literally. But Bezzecchi's, it didn't define rivalry, it interrupted resurrection. By Phillip Island, the mood was grim. Ducati had replaced Márquez with Michele Apiro, a competent test rider, but no war machine. The Italian knew he wasn't there to fight, just to fill the silhouette of a legend. Aprilia's garage looked haunted. Bezzecchi had pole and sprint victory the previous weekend. Now he'd start with a 6 to 8 second deficit thanks to his double long lap. The penalty wasn't just punishment, it was humiliation. Fans divided into tribes. Some said Bezzecchi was brave for owning it. Others said he was lucky not to face a harsher ban. Social media became a courtroom. And yet, Márquez refused to ignite outrage. His statement on Instagram read, "No hard feelings toward Marco." That's maturity, born from 6 years of pain. If it were Rossi in his place, the paddock would have turned into an inquisition. But Márquez chose silence as a weapon. Still, silence doesn't heal. Ducati's golden season now carried a scar that stats couldn't clean. Did FIM's delay show bias in how penalties are handled based on team influence? Did Bezzecchi's acceptance save his image or just bury guilt under manners? From now, where does this put him? The time will tell us. Comment below. Let's strip it down. This wasn't fate, and it wasn't bad luck. It was a sequence of arrogance, physics, and timing. Bezzecchi entered turn 8 too hot because his rhythm from the sprint made him believe he was untouchable. Mandalika punishes belief. The corner's geometry tightens mid-apex. Anyone following too closely risks catapulting forward under compression. He learned that the hard way. Márquez's injury changed the sport's emotional temperature. The 2025 season had been pure domination, 11 wins, 14 sprints, the largest points gap since Duhan's era. Now it ends with a limp arm and an unfinished storm. Ducati lost not just a rider, but an aura of inevitability. The paddock realized, even gods can be taken out by miscalculation. Aprilia's leadership didn't escape scrutiny. Why wasn't Bezzecchi restrained after his first warning earlier in the season? They encouraged his aggression to showcase fearlessness, but fearlessness without control is chaos wearing a sponsor's logo. There's irony here. The same Rossi Academy that once accused Márquez of ruining races now has one of its own ending another man's season. Call it karma. Call it the circle of racing life. It's hypocrisy in motion. As for the penalty itself, double long lap sounds symbolic, not surgical. At Phillip Island, it'll cost Bezzecchi roughly 8 seconds. But what about Márquez's surgery? What about missed rounds, lost points, and a disrupted legacy? The math doesn't balance. Racing justice never does. And yet the story doesn't end here. Márquez will return. He always does. Shoulder broken, pride intact, and fire undimmed. If history repeats, he'll turn this wound into ammunition. Every recovery, every rehab, every shadow cast by his absence, it's fuel. Because this isn't the end of domination, it's the pause before vengeance. Was this crash the universe reminding MotoGP that perfection is mortal? Or did Aprilia's desperation script its own curse? And when Márquez comes back, will anyone on the grid dare to look him in the eye again? Comment what you believe. Subscribe for more raw truths. We're just getting started.